Hey everybody, Cool Cucumber here. Welcome to the first episode vlog. As I mentioned in the episode 0 vlog, vlogs will bookend each of these episodes. There is a playlist that you can find on my page that is just the gameplay compiled without the vlogs. And so in the future, if you're coming back from whenever this series is finally done, you can find that there if you don't want to hear me talk or add extra details. Today, I want to interact a little bit with the one person that commented on that video. If you want to get your comment mentioned in one of these vlogs, you will have to catch it before I make the vlog. But don't worry, I'm not building up a significant backlog of these. I'm recording this right now on the Friday that it goes out. Hopefully I am. But today I just mostly wanted to discuss what we didn't get time to discuss in Let's Abridge Pokemon Fire Red Escape Tutorial Town. In the last vlog I talked a lot about the forced tutorials and how they're really bad in Fire Red, so I won't be talking about that here. And I don't want to come across as if I don't like this game. It is fun. I wouldn't be playing it if I thought it was miserable or atrocious unless it was a live stream. Then I might play terrible games. But for now, I think we should start by talking about the 3 starters. The one we chose, the one that was chosen by Blue, and the one that didn't get chosen. I'll start with Larry Loner, Charmander. Charmander, in terms of design, it's the victim of what I consider popularity backlash. It was the one on the cover in both Japan and the West that was seen as cooler and more popular by comparison. So a lot of kids thought, oh, this is the main character. I should pick it because it's cooler. It turns into a dragon. Dragons are cool. Dragons are cool. Then around the time of Gen 4, really it had come in before Gen 4, even way back in Gen 3, a move was introduced called Stealth Rock. Stealth Rock deals roughly about 1/8 of your Pokemon's health worth of damage if it's swapped into the battlefield. This is increased substantially if you are weak to rock. If you are weak to rock, which Charizard is 4 times weak to rock, then Stealth Rock can essentially function as an Achilles heel for your whole meta, for your whole strategy. So Charizard has that weakness. However, I would argue that over time, because of the backlash and people trying to explain how terrible Charizard is because it gets an unfair amount of attention. Just look at Sword and Shield for that. It was the only starter from any region besides Galar that was included before the Isle of Armor update. And that's really unfair. But Charizard is still viable and is still valuable. Flying Fire isn't the worst type combination you could have, even for a Fire type, because Flying gives you an immunity to ground in exchange for a weakness to electricity and an increased weakness to rock. So it's still extremely viable as long as you're aware that most ground types and most fighting types can learn Rock Slide or Rock Tomb. Something that we'll probably be encountering in the Pewter Gym unless I get really lucky. That does nerf Charizard, and he wasn't substantially better than the other starters before that point. But I'll say I like Charizard. It's a good design. It's a clever design to mix the mythos of Salamander with the mythos of Dragon. But I feel like we should talk about the other starters for a little bit. And the next one I want to talk about is actually Squirtle. Squirtle is regarded as the best of the Kanto starters. It's the only one that maintains its singular water typing throughout the game, which means that it doesn't gain any additional weaknesses, and water itself is a very well-rounded type, with a lot of strengths and not too many weaknesses, with a fair amount of resistances. Water is a good type. In terms of the competitive meta, Blastoise is the best. I'm sorry for Venusaur and Charizard fans, Blastoise is the best in terms of the competitive meta, but that's not why I chose it. I chose it because I was choosing Blue's Pokemon. If I was going to go with Zinger, who I'll talk about in a moment, there are very few things early game that a bug poison type can really battle. Later on, I feel like there are more things that will redeem Zinger, or make her more viable. For now, Blue having a Venusaur gives Zinger a target, something that she can excel at that Koopa cannot do. But that doesn't mean that Venusaur is bad. Far from it. Venusaur, firstly, I might as well mention it even though you probably already know it. Venusaur was part of a very notorious glitch in the original release. That is that if you used Toxic and Leech Seed on an opponent, which Venusaur was one of the very few Pokemon that could do it, I think the other one was Executor? I'm going to add it if I'm right on this. But I think Executor and Venusaur were the only two Pokemon that could learn Leech Seed. And Toxic. And Toxic's damage, it gets worse. It's badly poisoned. Each turn it does an increasing percentage of damage. So even if you try to heal off your damage with Recover, or Rest will do it, that doesn't nerf the increase in damage. So, what's the glitch? The glitch is that if you use it and Leech Seed, because of the code of Gen 1 being about as stable as the Titanic after it hit the iceberg, it's not too soon. Stop saying too soon. It's not stable, but the Leech Seed also increases in damage. But since Leech Seed directly heals the user, it means that Venusaur could dismantle any wall in just a few turns. And even if it went down, whatever came out next was going to withstand that confrontation, was going to last that fight, essentially forcing the person to switch out. I actually think Venusaur got a significant buff in Gen 2, though. And that is that in the original games, Poison was weak to Bug. I don't know why this was the case. I've always thought, ever since I was a little kid, that Poison should be strong against Bug. Insecticides. I mean, just look at what they're doing to bee populations. I shouldn't joke about that, but just seriously, Poison should be dangerous to insects, who, because they breathe through their skin, are much more susceptible to airborne toxins than humans are. Or I should say mammals and reptiles. Though not as much amphibians. Anyway, because Venusaur lost a weakness to Bug, it means that it can tank better. And with the addition of Mega Venusaur in X and Y, it can finally tank properly. Mega Venusaur gains the Thick Fat ability, which nullifies its weaknesses to Ice and Fire, leaving only Flying I feel like I'm forgetting. Flying and Psychic as weaknesses. So Venusaur is not a joke, but it is a grass type. Grass types have a lot of weaknesses. Grass types have the most weaknesses, with second place being Ice. Grass kind of makes up for it by having a lot of resistances, but I feel like I've derailed this at this point, and I'm going to bring it back because I want to address a comment left by one of my very few subscribers. Sorry for the cut there. I was trying to find the physical comment, and I neglectfully didn't print screen it before dumping the old version of the video since I had that editing glitch. It essentially addressed two things. Number one, that the viewer, Callista Plays, by the way, you're doing a great job on your own channel, don't stop, appreciated Squirtle slowly waddling across the screen to get into its Pokeball container. And also that she really liked Zinger's voice. So I thought I'd take this section to talk about Zinger. First off, thank you. I was really worried that my voice would be too muffled, that people wouldn't be able to understand at all what I was saying. Even in editing, I was a little worried about that. But I was honestly very worried that going out of the gate, people wouldn't like Zinger at all. Zinger is going to become a Beedrill. I'm saying this because it's common knowledge that Weedle eventually evolves into Beedrill. And Beedrill is treated as a second-class citizen among Pokemon. A lot of people don't like it. They think that it's garbage tier, that it's useless. And I personally disagree with this mentality. Not just about Beedrill, but in general. There are a few Pokemon that there is no upside to using them. But in the vein of the main story, I don't believe in Pokemon being worthless. Outclassed, I definitely can understand. But I don't think it would be a Let's Play by me if I didn't use some Pokemon that I consider lower tier. Because nobody is surprised when a Mewtwo sweeps the Elite Four. Nobody is startled whenever somebody says, I'm gonna catch a Pikachu in Viridian Forest, and use Pikachu and Squirtle and Nidoking and Alakazam, and you're like, no, you're going through all the base paces. You're not doing anything interesting. I feel like a Beedrill will make things more interesting. It'll make me have to think on the fly more often. It'll make my other team members have to pull their own weight more frequently. And it'll make me think on the fly in terms of how to use a Beedrill, which, while having lower stats, still has a few, at least in terms of the main game, redeeming ones. Namely, its attack stat. But that's why I picked Squirtle. So that Blue would pick Bulbasaur, so that Zinger would have something to do in the early game. And I'm just glad that Zinger was well received by somebody. I was really nervous that the first gameplay video would go out, and as soon as it went out, that some Pokemon competitive purist would drop in comments like, why did you choose... Why are you adding a Weedle to your team? Why are you using Beedrill? Beedrill's low tier. Low tier is fun. I feel like that should be the name of this vlog, just low tier is fun. Upper tier is boring. As anybody who watched competitive Pokemon during the time of Black and White can confirm, Landorus versus Landorus happened more times than I can physically count. And I'd rather not try to count that high. Alright, anyway, I think I've rambled enough about that. You might not have noticed, Callista Plays, but Weedle also marched down to the Pokeball. I plan on doing that with all of the Pokemon. Except for one. I have special plans for one. But let's advance the vlog before I prattle on for too much longer. My feelings on Pokemon Trainer Blue and Professor Oak. I think that Professor Oak is not the smartest guy. I feel like he's very much an absent-minded professor. And more than that, I also feel like he's extremely, extremely selfish. One of the types that is so driven by his research that he neglects other things that matter. Or worse, thinks that they don't matter, or that they only matter in such a way as they support him or help him achieve his goals. Blue, I think, is the aftermath of somebody like that clearly does not care for you. Clearly does not care what you do or who you are. But is also a bit of a celebrity in the scientific communities. Blue is my favorite rival in all of Pokemon. I love Blue. And I love that his character arc continues on into Gold Silver. And even into Sun and Moon to an extent. And that's why I chose to give him a voice that was at least somewhat respectable. I wasn't going to make him sound like Yish, because he's not niche. He wants to smell you later. But I guess I should talk about Red and Q and the start of the story that I decided to go with. I had a little bit of a monologue where I explained that Q was a runaway. I mainly based that off of the way that the trainer's mother acts and reacts and responds. She seems very distant, and the fact that there's no father in the picture, this is the canon for Q. The canon for Red is a bit different. Red is not a runaway. Well, then why would a little kid be sent out into the world of Pokemon? Well, I'll answer that question with a question. What is a Pokemon? If you said that Pokemon are basically wild animals, you are factually incorrect. What Pokemon are yokai, or Shinto religion spirits that take physical forms to hide and observe human society. Physical forms, these spirits often only show themselves to those who are innocent or pure of heart, aka children who have not yet been corrupted. If you approach Pokemon as them being these spirits, it answers all of the questions. Are Pokemon eaten? If they're eaten, how do they tolerate that? Why do little kids get Pokedexes and get sent out into the wide world full of criminals? Why are those criminals so inept? Why? How do Pokemon get pulled into Pokeballs? How do they get stored as data? If you approach them as being yokai, all of these things fall into place. They all make sense. That's why little kids are Pokemon trainers. That's why it answers all of the lore. And if you go with them being animals, it doesn't answer much. It explains why Tauros can use Flamethrower, but a buffalo can't. My personal theory, in terms of the Pokemon world here, is that wild Pokemon have driven off just about all of the normal animal life. Because They're effectively a super invasive species, and that by being studied, captured, and protected, pampered, used as sport for humans, why would you keep a cow when you can keep a miltank? Why would you keep a koi pond when you can instead train a Goldeen? Why would you train up a horse that is fast when you could ride on the back of a Rapidash? Or on the back of a Charizard? Pokemon took the world by storm because Pokemon are better than animals. And sadly, I think that's driven animals into extinction. At least in the Pokemon universe. But I think I've theorized for long enough, and this vlog is going to continue to prattle on if I don't cut it off at some point. So, I've been Cool Cucumber, and I hope that you will stay cool.